Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. If this is your first time of joining us, please do well to subscribe to my channel and do not forget to give a thumbs up to this video if you enjoyed it. In this video, I'll be taking us through 0x01 C variables, if, else, and while statement. Please, I'm sorry for dropping this video a bit late. I had to take care of some issues. It's a good thing I finally was able to take care of those issues, and here is the video for you guys. Alright, let's move quickly now to the general task itself. As usual, the requirements all stay the same. Betty style, Betty documentation would also be used. The first task is positive anything is better than negative nothing. Okay, so we're expected to write a C program that will assign a random number to the variable n each time it is executed. Complete the source code in order to print whether the number stored in the variable n is positive or negative. Now the source code we'll be using, we can actually look for it here. If you open this URL here and you get the source code, please do well to retype the source code. Do not copy and paste. Now I'll get into the exact reason why we should not copy and paste the code subsequently. The variable n will store a different value every time you run the program. You don't have to understand what rand, srand, randmax do. Please do not touch this code. So the source code file will give us the right syntaxes to use. We're expected not to touch the code. We're just expected to type exactly what we see from the source code. Now the output of the program should be the number followed by, if the number is greater than 0, it's positive. If the number is 0, is 0. If the number is less than 0, is negative. So if we run our code, we're supposed to get, let's say the number is 5. What we are supposed to get as the output is 5 is positive. If the answer we get is 0, what we're expected to have is 0 is 0. And if the number is less than 0, let's say -2, the program is supposed to print an output of -2 is negative, followed by a new line. Alright, to work on this task quickly, all I need to do once again is to get my sandbox. So if I launch my sandbox, okay, so here I have my sandbox launched already. Let me take us back to the root directory quickly. Alright, so from the root directory, already I have my repo alx-low_level_programming. Okay, so it is the same repo that we are using for this task. Now the directory we need is this directory, so I'll copy the name of the directory as usual. First I need to change my directory to my ALX low level programming as usual. Now in this directory we then do our make directory and the name of the directory. So if I click enter, the directory should be created. Alright, I already have that directory created here, so all I need to do is navigate directly into that directory. Let me just paste that since I already have it copied. Alright, good. Now I am inside that directory, so the first thing we need to do is we're trying to write a file called 0-positive_or_negative. So I copy that once again, and as usual, what do? We vi the name of the file. Alright, good. Right now I am inside the file, and this is the exact code you're supposed to have inside your file if you want this task to be correct. The first thing you need to do is to ensure that you include the standard library stdio.h, include stdlib.h, and also include time.h. We use our comments. Now in the main body of this task, your main function needs to generate a random number and return always 0 if the code runs successful. Now all your code should be written in the int main. So we start by initializing our unknown variable n. Now take note that all of this is gotten from the source code. So we have srand time 0, that is, you need to generate a random number in 0 seconds. Now your variable n that you have initialized here, or that you have specified here, should be equal to the random number generated minus the maximum random number generated divided by 2. So now here comes to what we need to do. If the number is greater than 0, it's positive. If the number is 0, it's 0. If the number is less than 0, it's negative. So we'll be using our if syntax. So if n is greater than 0, you're expected to print that the number is positive on a new and on a this should be written on a new line, and the number n here. Now the percentage %d you have specified here is the C programming identifier that helps the printf know that there is something that needs to be replaced here. This percentage %d is used to replace integers. So the printf statement automatically identifies that an integer is supposed to be placed here, and is going to pick the value here and is replaced here. Now if else, that if n is equivalent to 0, you use a double equal to show equivalence between n and 0. So while the single equal to is just used to specify. So if I say n equals 0, I am only specifying that if n is equal to 0. But if I say n double equal to 0, I'm trying to find equivalence, that if n is equivalent to 0, then you're required to print this statement. Percentage %d once again is used to replace the integer that is provided at the end of the print statement. Remember to include your /n, which shows that you're trying to print that statement on a new line. Now else if n is less than 0, we'll say the printf statement is negative. And because we want the program to return to be successful, we need to return 0, because we have returning 0 here would help us to be able to run this program successfully. So as usual, after typing in your code :wq to quit, then you need to compile your code. So GCC is the compiler to use, the name of the file, and I would always specify the output of my file. I always love to do that. I'll specify the output of my file, take out the .c. So GCC 0-positive.c should be outputted into this file. If I do that, I then do my git add, do my git commit. I can commit with whatever name I want, let's say tax1, and then I do my git push. Alright, so you'd see that I have nothing to commit because I did not make any changes to the file that was created. But for yours, you would see some bunch of statements here to show that you've successfully committed and pushed that code. Now at that point, after committing, adding and pushing, all you need to do now is to run the check for your code. Alright, now let's say you run the check for your code and it brings up some error involving Betty or Betty documentation style. Take note that the Betty will specify the particular line that has that error. Now the major reason why I mentioned that it's important that you type out your own code is because if you copy and paste your code, there are chances that you have trailing white spaces following the code that you have copied. And for every time you attempt to check the code, Betty would always return the error message to you that you have trailing white spaces. So ensure to type your code yourself, and after typing your code, if Betty gives you an error, locate the particular line that Betty error specifies that there's an error, then you go back and check the code. Alright, now let's move on to the next task. Alright guys, I welcome you back once again. Now from the previous video, we have talked about task 1 of the project we're working on, which is the 0x01c variables if else y. We were only able to do task 0 in that previous video. Now we will start from task 1. Now for task 1, we're told that the program we're writing will assign a random number to the variable n. Now each time it is executed, now we are expected to complete the source code in order to print the last digit of the number stored in the variable n. Once again, we can find the source code here. Now the only difference is that in this particular video, the output of the program should be the string last digit of followed by n, followed by the string is n would then, the string last digit of will be followed by n, then n will also be followed by the string is, which is then followed by, if the last digit of n is greater than 5, we're expecting to see the string and is greater than 5. So let's say we have a number greater than 5, the output program should read last digit of n is greater than 5. If the number is 0, we should read last digit of n is 0 and is 0. We should also have, if the number is less than 6 and not 0, last digit of n is less than 6 and not 0, and also followed by a new line. Once again, I would copy the name of the file I am trying to create. Okay, so after copying the name of the file, I am currently in my 0x01-variable if else while directory. So I VI the name of the file. Now this is what your code should look like when you VI the file. You should have included stdio.h, stdlib.h, include time. All of this information are obtained from the source code till this point. Alright, so this is the first printf statement that we need. We are required to print the statement last digit of. Once again, the %d here represents an integer that we are asking the printf statement to take from the variable that we've initially identified up here. Now we've also initialized or defined a variable called num. Num should be equal to n modulo 10. Now what we mean by n modulo 10 is that whatever number we have, if we find the modulo of 10, and now if the number is greater than 5, we're expected to print the statement that the number will print the number and is greater than 5 with a new line. Else, if the number is less than 6 but the number is also less than 0, we're going to print that the number is less than 6 and not 0 with a new line. Also, if the number now is 0, we'll print that the number is 0 and then we'll return that. Okay, so once again, let's examine the task and really see what we are asked to do. Okay, so up until this point, we're required not to touch the source code. Now the output of the program is this blah 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 blah. Yeah, exactly just what we are expected to do. Alright, so after writing all this, as usual, we use our :wq to exit. Do not forget to compile your code using I usually like to GCC the name of the code. I usually like my output file to be the exact name of the code using without the .c. Okay, so after compiling the code, once again you do your regular git add, git commit, and then git push. Okay, so I won't be doing that because I have made no changes to my file. I was only trying to show you what the file is supposed to look like. So at every point in time that you see my code, it's important that you pause the video, take your time to study the code, and thereafter you can write yours, or you can write yours while looking at mine. Now the next task says, I sometimes suffer from insomnia, and when I can't sleep, I play what I call the alphabet games. So in this program, we have to write a program that prints the alphabet in lowercase, followed by a new line. Now we are only expected to use the putchar function, and all our codes should be in the main function, and we can only use the putchar twice in your code. Now, as you will guess, what function do you expect us to use? As you will guess, we will be using the while statement. Now, why are we using the while statement? Now we are expecting the code that we're writing to print the alphabets in lower cases. So we want to print all of the alphabets starting from A to Z. So we'll start our program as usual by writing the regular C program. We include our libraries, and thereafter we add the comments. Now we start writing our code in the void, which is the instruction that we're supposed to write our code in the main. Alright, so once again we initialize our ch. Ch is a variable I'm trying to use. I define it as starting from A. Okay, so my ch is going to start from A. So while ch is less than or equal to Z, so it means that this body of code, this put char and ch++ will continue to run for as long as this condition is satisfied. So the body of code will check after running printing A for the first time. We'll check, we'll print for B. B is still less than or equal to Z. We'll continue to print. By the time it gets to Z, it finally realizes that ch now is equal to Z. Then the program terminates. So while this condition is satisfied, this body of code continues to run. But how are we able to increment in the while loop? The put char symbol, the put char syntax is what we are expected to use to print our alphabets. Now the ch++ here indicates the increment. So ch++ here means after A, move to the next before running the iteration again. If the ch++ here is not provided, this while loop will continue to run endlessly. So the ch++ here allows us to increment the value, and the less than or equal to here helps us to break out the while loop once this condition is satisfied. Now the put char /n here shows that after the while loop runs the first time, this put char will produce a new line for us. Then the while loop runs a second time. So for as long as the while loop continues to run, the put char /n here would continue to provide a new line before our next alphabet is written. Otherwise, the alphabets will all be written on the straight line, but we are expected to write the alphabets on each new line. Then we return 0 as usual to show that our code is going to run successfully. As usual, :WQ to quit. Then don't forget to compile your code. Once again, I use the output, the same name without the .c, and my code compiles. I do my regular git add, git commit, and then git push. Now for the third task, we are required to write a program that prints the alphabet in lowercase and then in uppercase, followed by a new line. So to be able to solve this task, all you need to do is you need to initialize two variables, one for the lowercase alphabet and one for the uppercase alphabet. So we will be initializing the lowercase alphabet first, because from our output here, we have lowercase alphabets first, and thereafter we have uppercase alphabets. So you will be initializing your lowercase alphabet first, and then you would also be initializing your uppercase alphabet subsequently below it. Let me just show you what the code is supposed to look like. Sorry, not git-vi. Okay, so this is what your code is supposed to look like. You initialize the first variable, you initialize the second, ch, which is representing capital letter, and then you repeat the same while loop for both of them. So this while loop will continue to run for as long as all of the alphabets are within a small letter A to Z, while this one will also continue to run for as long as the alphabets are within capital letter A to Z. But the put char here helps us to add new line to each of our alphabets as they are written. Once again, do not forget to compile your code, git add, git commit, and also git push. For the fourth one, we are supposed to write a program that prints the alphabet in lower cases followed by a new line. We are going to print all the letters except Q and E. Okay, so this is what your code is supposed to look like. All we need to do is take the same code that was used for, sorry, I didn't copy that correctly. Okay, so just take the codes that was used for the second task, The only changes here is then you include an if statement. So from the if statement, just pause the video at this point, and there you can compile your code. Subsequent video, I will be releasing task 4, task 5 down to the advanced task. Thank you very much for watching. Alright guys, welcome back once again to my YouTube channel. Do not forget to subscribe and give a thumbs up to this video. Now, I mentioned that in the last video that we're going to take through task 5 down to the advanced task, but I realized that if I did that, the time that will be spent to explain the entire video will be so long, and many people may get bored watching the video. So what I have done is I will be giving the explanation to two of the advanced tasks. Oh, sorry, the 3 advanced tasks, starting from 10, 11, and 12. I will be explaining how the code should be written and why it is written the way it is written. Alright, so let me begin quickly. I'll copy the name of the file. Now here are some of the things that you need to put into consideration. The program we're writing is to print all possible different combinations of 2 digits. The numbers must be separated by a comma followed by a space. The 2 digits must be different, that is 01 and 10 are considered the same combination of 2 digits 0 and 1. So print only the smallest combinations of 2 digits. So if we have 01, we are not allowed to have 10. If we have 02, we are not allowed to have 20. That's what these 2 lines mean. Numbers should be printed in ascending order with 2 digits. So ascending order, that is from small numbers to high numbers. You can only use the putchar function. Printf puts etc is forbidden. You can only use the putchar 5 times maximum in your code. You're not allowed to use any variable of type char, and all your codes should be in the main function. Okay, so I would launch my sandbox. Okay, so after launching my sandbox, as usual, we VI the file. Now this is what the entire body of the code should look like. All of these are standard for things that we usually include in our code. Now int main, so this is the body of the code now. Okay, so I will start by initializing my first variable. Call it ones, which is representing the unit side of the 2 numbers, and I'll call this tens, which is representing the tens of the 2 numbers. So just like the place value of the 2 numbers, I have units and tens. Okay, so my ones, I will initialize it as 0. Also my tens, I initialize it at 0. I'm going to be using the for loop because I want the two numbers printed at the same time. So I will start with the tens because from the task here, it mentions that I should use print only the smallest combinations of the 2 digits. So it means that my tens must be smaller numbers. So I'll start by saying for tens equals to 0. Now when you're using the for loop, you must set the initialization, the relationship, and the increment. So tens equals to 0 here is the initialization, this is the relationship, and this is the increment. So I want the tens that would be printed must be less than or equal to 9. That is, for all of my tens values that must be printed, it must range from 0 down to less than or equal to 9. Okay, now that is for, then I move to the unit side or the ones. So I would say for ones equal to 0, ones must be less than or equal to 9. So it means I'll also print values starting from 0 down the way to 9, and I increment it by 1. So for my first value, I'll have 0, 0, then I'll have 0, 1, I'll have 0, 2, 0, 3, 0, 4, and so on. So for all of the zeros, this would change by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So for 1, this would change by 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and the rest. Now remember that from the problem we are told that numbers should be printed in ascending order, and we do not want the combination of 0 and 1 used multiple times. It must only be used once. Okay, so for that case, what we would have is, if ones is equal to tens, and if tens is greater than ones, we print tens and ones. That is, sorry, I forgot to mention the exclamation here. The exclamation here represents not. So it means if ones is not equal to, is not the same as tens, this is or tens is greater than ones, you can go ahead and print. So for as long as the ones value are not equal to the tens value, and the tens value is not greater than the ones value, you can go ahead and print tens and print ones at the same time. Also, if our ones is not is equal to 9 and tens is equal to 8, what we'll have instead is you print a comma and a space. So the comma and space will be printed immediately we have a value where our ones is 9 and our tens is 8. So for example, here we have our ones to be 8, we have a comma, our ones to be 9, we have a comma. So that's what this body is actually telling the code to do. So basically that's just what the entire code is supposed to do. So for our for loop, we initialize, we set the relationship, and then we increment. That's just how to use a for loop. Now the symbol here is or, while this is and. So for if ones equivalent to 9 and tens equivalent to 8, add a comma and a space. So you'd see I've added a comment here to suggest what this body of code is supposed to do. Alright, so you can pause the video at this point and type out your own code as well. Then go ahead to after typing out the code, exit with :WQ. Do not forget to compile the code. Compile, git add, git commit, and then git push. Now for the next advanced task, we have that was to write a program that prints all possible different combinations of 3 digits. Okay, so once again I'll copy the name of the file. Alright, so once again we do not want the 3 digits to like 012, 120, 102, 021 are all combinations of the same 3 digits. So we only want the smallest combination of these 3 digits to be printed, so the rest are not supposed to be printed. So once again, this is what the code should look like. Alright, so in this instance we'll have ones, tens, and hundreds. So we repeat the same body of code for the for the for loop. We repeat the same body of code for hundreds, for tens, and for ones. Now at this point we eliminate repetition using the same approach that was used from the previous video, and here we add our commas and our spaces while ensuring that the smallest combination of numbers is used during the code. You can pause the video at this point, type out your own code. Okay, so once again, after typing your code completely, you can exit the body of the code by using :WQ. Thereafter, do not forget to GCC your code, that is to compile your code, and then to git add, git commit, and git push as well. Now for the last one, which is also similar to the last two that we are written, except that we want to write a program that prints all possible combinations of two-digit numbers. Okay, so in this instance, the numbers should range from 0 to 99. The two numbers should be separated by a space. All numbers should be printed with two digits. One should be printed as 01. Now the combination of numbers must be separated by comma, followed by a space. The combinations of numbers should be printed in ascending order. So we have something like 0001, then a comma. We can then go ahead to have other combinations of numbers. Okay, so we have numbers ranging from we can only use the putchar function, and you can only use the putchar function 8 times. Now from the output here, we see what the code is trying to tell us to do. We have 41, 43, 41, 44, 41, 45, 41, 46. So that's what how the code is supposed to output itself. The code is supposed to give a range of numbers. The two numbers should range from 0 to 99. The two numbers should be separated by a space. So the code is supposed to give us all possible combinations of two-digit numbers. So if I have, let's say I have a number 0 and 1, what are the possible combinations of 0 and 1? What are the possible combinations of 0 and 2? What are the possible combinations of 0 and 3? What are the possible combinations of 0 and 4? So that's what we are asking this code to write. So if I have 8 and 9, what are the possible combinations of 8 and 9? So I can have 9, 8, and 9, 9. I can as well, what are the possible combinations of 3, 9, and 5? So these are the possible combinations. So that's what we are expected to write from this code. So this is what you should have when you've written the code. Okay, so we start by initializing our numbers. We have number I and j to represent the two separate numbers. Remember, for the for loop, we said we must always use the initialization, the relationship, and the increment. So for I equals to 0, I have my I less than 100. Also for my j equals to 0, I have j less than 100. So if I is less than j, we need to print putchar, which is print or display. So we'll have our I divided by 100 plus 48. We also have our I modulo 10 plus 48. So that will give us the two numbers. So take for example, if I have, let's say I is 50. So 50 divided by 10 will be 5. 5 plus 48 will give me 53. Also I'll say 50 modulo 10, that would be 5. 5 plus 48 would also give me 53 once again. That is, how many times would 50? Okay, oh, so sorry. For the second line, putchar I modulo 10 is 0. 0 plus 48 will give me 48. So I'll have 53 and I also have 48. So we put a space in between the numbers. While on this instance, if we use our j to also be 50, the same procedure applies. Now if I is not equal to 98 or j is not equal to 99, we add comma and also a space. So this code just does exactly what the task has asked us to do. I would advise that you try as much as possible to write out this code yourself. Do not copy and paste the codes. As you can see, do not copy and paste them. It's important that you write yours so that you can get used to writing this code. For more research, you can as well take a look at some of the resource materials that have been provided. Some of them on the while loop, and also, but most importantly, You can take a look at this book, Everything You Need to Know to Start with C. It's a very, very interesting book. Can assist you very much to run through the exercises. So do not forget to compile your code once again using GCC, the name of the program or the code that you just wrote, and specify the output. But if you choose not to specify the output, no problem, it's also fine. Any challenge you have compiling your code, you can drop it in the comment section. I'm sure to attend to it. Also, if Betty is giving you a challenge, all you need to do is look at the checkup very well. Betty will specify a particular line that has the error. So all you need to do is locate that line in your code and make the necessary adjustments to that code. Once again, I apologize for sending this video in very late. I had to handle one or two challenges involving my computer. Alright, so if you've enjoyed this video, do give a thumbs up to this video, and at the end of the day also subscribe to my YouTube channel so that you get an alert once I drop the next video. Alright, that will be all on 0x01C variables, if, else, and wow. I hope to see you next time. Bye.